Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. We are back with another installment of Taking It Back here on 412 Productions, syndicated by our good friends over on Badlands Media with my good buddy Zach Payne of Red Pill 78. What's up, bud? How's your Thursday going?
It's all right, Adel. We were just talking before the show. It's been a slog. The month is quickly coming to an end, and another one's going to begin. And I can only hope that it's better than the last. Let me ask you this: why are you only doing the green screen and not anything on the green screen?
I got like the lighting in this room is terrible
Hmm.
and it always cuts off like a piece of my head whenever I do the green screen and
Yeah.
things faded out. I just got tired of the way it looked. So I plan on ripping this down and putting a bunch of stuff up behind me. Like
Okay.
people have seen really cool stuff over the past few years. So I'm either gonna take this down and put a bunch of stuff up, or there's another room on the other side of this wall that's a little bigger. And I might try to like make a studio out of it and do something a bit more organic than a green screen.
Okay.
I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But that's why I got sick of the way it looked. I thought it was really awful looking. But my entire audience, I believe that's probably the most interesting thing that has happened on my show in the past week. If you read my live chat,
Oh, that's great.
yeah. But yeah, man, it's been an interesting week since the last time we talked. I think two big things that happened that have kind of reshaped the landscape a little bit. You had Ronna McRomney stepping down as RNC chair, and then I think it was just yesterday, right, that we heard Mitch McConnell is going to be resigning as the leader of the GOP in the Senate. So we have officially sacked all of the McFailures, McCarthy, McDaniel, and McConnell, all coming to the end of their tenures in leadership roles in the GOP. Um, Amazing, right? I mean, this is the transformation of the party we've been kind of waiting for since Donald Trump came down those escalators in 2016.
Yeah, it certainly leaves an opening for possibility. I don't know much personally about the Donald Trump's choice to lead the RNC. I gotta believe that at this point he knows what not to pick. I mean, if he's choosing this guy, if he's saying he's the man for the job, then you know we'll go ahead and give him a shot. Um, but in terms of the Senate, from what I understand, the only person who has announced a plan to try to take over as leader is another Rhino, John Cornyn. And if he steps in there, it's going to be the exact same thing. And the other part about it is that Mitch McConnell is ineffective as a leader right now. But he's talking about sticking around until November. Yeah, November, that's the election. He's just going to stay there long enough to screw us if he can, and then allow somebody else to come in and take over. I would think that there's got to be an argument made to get him the hell out of there right now. I mean, like let's get some new blood in there before the election and see what we can kind of drum up there to help us out. But who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting with his departure, the battle that's going to be for leadership, especially in the Senate. I mean, there's really not many America First fire breathers in that body right now. I mean, I can name a couple guys that have some respect for, like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, and Rand Paul has his moments, but for the most part, I feel like most of them are closer to the Mitch McConnell class than they are to, like a Kerry Lake or someone like that that aspires to be in the Senate. Who do you think, as a realistic choice, could do a decent enough job, at least as like a transition, while over the next maybe 4 to 6 years we get some new blood into the Senate? Like who would you like to see take that role that you feel like has a realistic chance to actually win the position?
I mean, you named all three that I have considered myself. I think like in terms of what is actually needed, like some restraint, a little bit of logic and reason. I think Rand Paul is perfect. I think Josh Hawley has that sort of tenacity and drive that would also really, really help us out there. But Ted Cruz is the more established of all three of them, and he's pretty solidly reliable in terms of conservatism. But he also has never really delivered on that Tea Party promise that I think got him into office. But he's better than vast majority of them. Honestly, if I could pick, I would just put Rand Paul in there, and I could see his agenda driving America towards more of what we want to see.
You wouldn't get the ridiculous negotiations with the left on the spending, right? I mean, if nothing else, I feel like Rand Paul would slow down the government spending, the
Yes.
ridiculous amount of money wasted. He wouldn't allow these 2,500-page omnibus bills to be dropped on people's desks less than 24 hours before a vote. I think that he would bring some sense of reasonable order
Yeah.
to the people, and actually force people to or give people an opportunity to consider what they're actually voting on, allow the public to take time to digest what they're actually voting on, and break these things up a bit. Molon Labe says Senator Ron Johnson. I feel like he'd be a decent choice, but I feel like he's always like a hair away from getting beat in Wisconsin. Like you know what I mean? Like you kind of want someone that we can count on winning re-election over and over again, at least for a while, right?
I think also Ron Johnson, I mean, he's like one of the only voices out there on the COVID stuff, on the vaccine stuff, so like, would they even allow him to put his name in the hat? Really? I think that, Rand Paul is kind of the same way. Like he's generally like the only person who bothers to speak up on a lot of different subjects. I think Josh Hawley would be the safer pick among them. And he could probably rally the votes, I would imagine. So yeah, so I don't know. But any of those people, I'd be totally down with. But I would hate for Johnson to do this, and then he would lose sight of all the other stuff that he's working on. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too. Another name being thrown out there is Tim Scott. Tim Scott as kind of an in-between of like the establishment and MAGA, not full America first, but I don't consider him to be like a Mitch McConnell either. I feel like he's someone that might be able to, like I said, fill that role in a transitionary period until there is more America first representation in the Senate. So I'd be okay with someone like that too.
The reason I didn't mention Tim Scott is because I'm pretty certain he's auditioning right now for the new administration. I think we're probably going to end up with an election in his state. So I don't know. Don't hold me to it, but I feel that that's the direction that it's going.
You think he's going to be the VP pick? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying he's going to be VP pick, but I mean, there's a whole lot of spots that are going to need to be filled. And yeah, I think that he could be valuable for sure.
Yeah. What's also interesting is the way each of the McFailures were removed. You had Kevin McCarthy vacated by 8 Republicans, led by Matt Gaetz, and then the Democrats helping, which is fantastic to me because they really shot themselves in the foot for a cheap media narrative on that one. Ronna McDaniel clearly pushed out by Donald Trump, being the nominee. He wanted new blood, which I think was enough to get her out. What do you think was Mitch McConnell's ultimate reason for making this decision? Was it age, or was there something more to it?
It's funny that you mention it. First of all, the obvious pick would be the fact that, in a cognitive and physical sense, the man is falling apart. He's pulling a Biden in the Senate. However, just like a week and a half ago, something like that, his sister-in-law happened to die in a freak single car accident. She was on a private ranch in Texas, and she drove into a pond and didn't get out of the car. Very, very strange. When we reported on that, like, a week or two ago, I was like, this is pretty odd. Kathy Chung is his wife. She was, I believe, she was at like Treasury or something like that under President Trump. She was in the Trump administration. And again, don't quote me. I don't remember exactly, but her sister was CEO of like the family company or something like that. And when she died in this car accident, they didn't really say anything else about it. I was like, that's suspicious. I wonder if this is a somehow a message to Mitch McConnell. And you know, I was thinking like maybe, you know, play ball or else, or maybe it was like, you know, time to retire. And here it is, you know, a week and a half later, and he's stepping down. So I don't know. It was a weird thing because, you know, we didn't get any pictures from the scene. We don't know where it was because it was on a private ranch. They don't think they told us like what kind of car she was driving or anything like that. But I mean, for
I heard
somebody to,
Tesla, but I could be wrong.
what's that? Was it a
I
Tesla?
heard, I thought I heard it was a Tesla. I don't quote me on that out there. I could be completely mistaken, but I could have sworn I heard somewhere that it was a Tesla.
So, I mean, and it might have been, but somebody was telling me in the chat yesterday that if it was a Tesla, Teslas have a physical, like rip cord that, like, in case there's no electricity in the car, you pull that cord and it opens the door. So, you know, I don't see any reason why she shouldn't have been able to get out, unless like maybe she was drugged and then pushed into the pond, or I mean, I don't know how she, considering it was already on a private ranch. I mean, I doubt she was like, you know, mud bogging. You know, I also doubt that she was going super fast and like, you know, drove off a bridge or something like that into super deep water. Very weird. Yes, it's just a baseless conspiracy.
Always is.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I never even really considered. I remember that story, but I never even considered that in connection with this. That's an interesting thought. Well, either way, I'm glad that the turtle is gone. He's, you know, definitely been a thorn in the side for the grassroots movement, the America First movement. And I think the future is a lot brighter, you know, than it ever was before. You know, getting rid of those three, they were definitely impeding the progress of everything that we were hoping to see. I guess the key is now what do we do with this new leadership, or what do they do? You know, I look at the RNC as an organization and how badly that's been mismanaged by Ronna McDaniel and the leadership there. Wasted resources, not supporting you know, our best candidates. You know, I think about the last midterms, not helping Carrie Lake with her issues. Doug Mastriano here in Pennsylvania got almost no support for the RNC against Shapiro, and he would have made a fantastic governor of Pennsylvania. I mean, he would have really given us a great shot at making Pennsylvania a pretty sure thing come this November. Major losses in state governments in Michigan and PA and other battleground states under the watch of Ronna McDaniel. What do you think fundamentally needs to change about the RNC as an organization? Like, if you were put into this role that's now been opened up and going to have someone else in it, what would you do, Zach? What would you focus the resources on? Would it be election integrity, getting out the vote? How would you handle that role?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would divert funds from unnecessary expenditures. You know, I mean, all of those things that you mentioned are super important. I mean, we've got to have people present. We've also got to have people getting people registered to vote. We've got to make it as secure as possible if people are going to be voting. So, you know, although I loathe the idea of doing like what the Democrats do, you know, if there is a policy present in a state to harvest ballots, you know, I mean, like if you got somebody that can go around and pick them up for people who are, you know, unable to drop them off or unlikely to drop them off, you know, I could see that it might help, but I don't think it's something that we should be focusing on. But if the Democrats are out there doing it, we at least got to be keeping an eye on it and making sure that it's not being abused, because certainly it is. But like as an example, the Democrats were spending their money on buying like the qualified voter files, like the lists of people, you know, I mean, knowing who even was registered to vote. The Republicans just didn't do that. They were putting all their money into limousines and floral arrangements and lip injections for Ronna Romney McDaniel. You know, I mean, like just like stuff that, you know, none of that stuff belongs there. You know, I mean, like we need to be spending money on ensuring that the people who can vote are getting out to vote, and that the votes that are being sent are actually being counted. You know, I mean, like just the efforts that she was funding had nothing to do with ensuring victory for candidates. And, I mean, we go back to 2020 and you think about how, like, on election day in precincts all over the country, the Democrats had lawyers and challengers ready to ensure that every vote was counted, no matter how fraudulent it was. The Republicans had no such efforts. They just, like, on a wing and a prayer, Ron McDaniel got limousines from airport to airport and first class airfare, private jets. None of that stuff is what the Democrats were doing. They were putting money into candidates. They were putting money into ensuring that votes were counted. That's the stuff we got to put money into.
Yeah, 100%. I'll never forget in Pennsylvania, they had those ridiculous vote drops at 3 a.m. I went to bed, I think around 3 a.m. Trump was up by like 750,000 votes. Rich Barris is on the war room. Like, it's a done deal. There's just not enough votes left in the state to catch Biden up. I go to bed. I wake up. All of a sudden, Joe Biden's only down by like 150,000 votes. Like, somehow just 600,000 votes disappear. And they're not letting Republican poll watchers into these places in Philadelphia. It took almost 48 hours before there was anybody from the RNC down there to stop the bleeding. And by that time, it was too late. They had enough time to trickle in whatever they needed to win the state. And we saw the same thing in 2022 with Carrie Lake. Just absolutely no support down there while they were slowly stealing that election, her gubernatorial election down there as well. So, yeah, I agree. You need to have these lawyers ready to go and ready to fight the day of the election. Also, good.
Well, I was just to add to that point, because Geezerman brings it up, and this is obvious. We've talked about this so many times, but the voter rolls are padded. Okay, we know that there's tons of people on there who are either dead or ineligible, or there's duplicates. If the National Party is buying the voter rolls in every single state, okay, then they can be scrubbing them. They can be going through and canvassing and making sure that the names that are on that ballot are real. Otherwise, if they're not, then they can go ahead and send a challenger in to the county clerk's office and say, hey, listen, we identified 100,000 people who are registered to vote, and they're living at P.O. boxes, or they're living at empty lots, or they're living at shopping malls. These are clearly not real people. Let's get them off. But, obviously those bloated voter rolls benefit everyone. So they kind of just allow it to go through. That has to stop.
I don't know how it is since you've moved down to Florida, Zach, but when you were in Michigan, which is definitely a battleground state in 2020.
Yeah,
I remember in PA, I don't even want to call them not canvassers, but activists, Democrat activists knocking at my door probably 5 or 6 times during that time, trying to hand me information, tell me how bad Trump is, get me to get out and vote. So that, I was still registered, I believe, as an independent at that point. So anyway, they were I never once got a Republican, like show up to my house to try to get me out to vote. It was just Democrat, 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 no Republican. So it's like, where are the Republican door knockers? And I blame that 100% on Ron and McDaniel. They should have an army of Scott Presslers in every battleground state, registering people, knocking on doors, talking to people. What he's accomplished by himself, bouncing around as one individual, has been amazing. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever, with the resources we're put in place, to have 24 of him in every state, just pounding the pavement, making a massive difference.
No, this is exactly what I was referring to. The Democrats paid people to get out the vote, do exactly what you're talking about, canvass, pass out literature, walk door to door, and ensure that people were actually registered to vote. They did it in every single one of those battleground states. The Republicans did it in none. Okay, like it was literally like $10,000 on like canvasser efforts is what Ron McDaniel spent. And it wasn't that little, but it wasn't much more. Okay, especially when you compare it dollar for dollar of what the Democrats did. The Democrats, I mean, they focused their efforts on doing outreach, on getting people registered to vote, on ensuring that they had real live bodies that were going to come in. And then in the instances where there weren't live bodies, they created dead ones, or they created fictitious ones, and they made sure that they were on there. The Democrats are paying companies like GBI Strategies in Michigan to just go into an impoverished area, fill out tens of thousands of voter registration cards, and then hand them in. And then, of course, the city and county clerks are really not doing very much about it. Or when they do something about it, the FBI and the state of Michigan, they completely ignore it. It doesn't help. It does, it's like it's a fruitless effort for the Republicans to do nothing about it. If you do nothing about it, then you're going to fail. All right. If you instead take the money out of the private jets, out of the floral arrangements, out of the gourmet parties with private chefs, and you put it into the efforts to get people out and do the outreach. I mean, you can do double duty. Like I said, you make sure people are getting registered to vote. You make sure that you are canvassing to determine who is a real person, because then you can bust those Democrats for having set up fake voters.
What's so infuriating about it too, Zach, is everything that you're talking about, all these like fancy different things that they were wasting money on, was all to cater to this elite donor class, right? And I understand that in like the old world of politics, you needed that money, and that was how you raised it. But Donald Trump has come in and break that mold. I mean, you look at the way he raises money, it's 10, $20 at a time.
Yeah.
It's from small donors. They're out there. They're willing to put money towards something if they actually believe it's real. He's proven that. So it makes it even more infuriating that you have an RNC with a voter base that is absolutely starved for someone to listen to them and someone to take their money and use it in a way that they actually feel is useful. And for that to be completely ignored, to continue to cater to this elite class, it doesn't even really share the values of what the party's supposed to stand for. So it makes it all the more infuriating. Add that with the fact that you see Democrat efforts in every state. It doesn't matter if it's deep red or deep blue, they're out there and they're fighting. Republicans ignore, New Jersey, New York, Delaware, Massachusetts. I mean, we just concede so much. And I'm not saying that we'd flip any of those states in this next election, but damn it, chip away. They've been chipping away at us forever. Like there's no reason why you couldn't, maybe within the next 10 years, flip a New Mexico or a Virginia or a New Jersey or some of these states if you actually tried. It's just they consider those states lost, they pocket that money and just don't even fight. It's so maddening to see.
Well, this is largely the reason why donations to the RNC are at an all-time low, because the people who are donating, blue collar, average, everyday Americans who are starved for someone to listen to them, they're donating directly to the candidates that are actually doing that. And, largely that's Donald Trump, and that's going to be those America First candidates, because the RNC is not giving money to those people. Yes, they have to support Donald Trump as it is right now because it's a presidential election year. Are they putting as much effort into it as they should? So I don't see them fighting for him in these states where they're trying to get him off the ballots. It's all President Trump. So the people see that, and that's why they're not putting their efforts behind the national party. Now, that's not to say that we can't take over the party. I mean, I've been telling people to become precinct committeemen for years now. And, and it's more than that. You've got to join your local party and you've got to be active within it. I mean, those people are scared to death of people like us coming in and getting politically active and being that force for change. So we could flip Virginia or a New Jersey, especially right now. I mean, you look at what Joe Biden has done to the country, and you've got even the people who could not stomach voting for Donald Trump or for any Republicans previously. They are registering as Republicans. They are now saying, hey, we're going to have to vote for Donald Trump if we want things to go back to some semblance of normalcy. So I think that there is a real opportunity to flip those states if they were putting the money into the right areas. But, as it stands, the money has to be there. Okay. And they're not getting any of my money as far as I'm concerned.
No, not until they prove that they're going to use it in an efficient way that actually makes sense. Unfortunately for them, they're going to be guilty until proven innocent on that because of the way they've mismanaged millions and millions and millions of dollars of donor money in the past. All right, let's take a quick break here and take care of some sponsors. We're a little behind on that. So our first one is our friends at Love Litters. Attention, all you Badlanders with purring pals and feathered friends, say hello to Love Litters, 100% pure kiln-dried wood, free from chemicals and oh so kind to Mother Earth. No dust, no mess, and no toxins, just a lightweight solution that's gentle on your wallet and even gentler in your home. Our biodegradable litter is crafted from wood, destined for landfills, giving it a new purpose in your pet's life. Cats love it. Our astonishing formula works like magic to neutralize that notorious cat urine odor, keeping your home pine fresh and welcoming. For bird lovers, it zaps the moisture from bird droppings, crumbling them all away while being safe if pecked at or ingested. For reptiles and critters too, our mix is crafted to dilute the pine scent, ensuring those little lungs stay happy and healthy. Plus, every 30-pound bag of Love Litters will last up to 6 months, saving you money. Transform your pet care today. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/litter. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter, and breathe easy with a litter that loves your pets as much as you do. Up next is our friends at Goldco. Are you concerned about the $6 trillion at stake in the upcoming 2024 election? The Wall Street Journal has reported a critical issue, the looming decision on extending tax cuts scheduled to expire after 2025. Republicans advocate for extending Trump's tax cuts, while the Democrats lean towards letting them expire and increasing taxes on top earners and corporations, potentially creating a massive $6 trillion gap. But fear not, there's a way to protect yourself from this impending threat. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans who are taking proactive steps to safeguard their savings. Visit badlandsgold.com to claim your free 2024 gold and silver kit and fortify everything you've worked for. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver, but hurry, supplies are limited. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Act now to diversify and shield your savings against the uncertainties ahead. Get your free 2024 gold and silver kit today at badlandsgold.com and take control of your financial destiny. So those our first two sponsors today. We appreciate you guys who support the sponsors here at Badlands very, very much. Also, please share the link wherever you're watching. Hit that thumbs up button. If you're on Rumble, hit the red pill repost on pill.net. And yeah, appreciate you guys all doing those little things that make a big, big difference in helping these channels and these shows continue to find new viewers. All right, let's change gears here, Zach. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments on Trump's immunity, or presidential immunity, and the left. Oh my God, are they losing their shit over this? I got to play you a couple of clips, Zach, because it is delicious. I got to say, it is absolutely. I mean, I got two of them. I wanted to just pick one because I like to spend more time talking than watching. But there were just two that were so unhinged. I couldn't decide. So we're going to just listen to both of these and then we'll talk about it. But first, here's a guy I like to call Q-Tip on MSNBC. And I mean, again, the unhinged nature of these people is hilarious. Take a listen. Oh, hold on. Come on. There we go.
Then the appeals court gives a bulletproof ruling, as Dahlia says, and they still decide to take it up.
What it says is that they are corrupted political actors who act in bad faith. The reason why people like Mark and people like Dahlia seem to have a crystal ball is because they're real, because they're realists, and they understand the court for what it is. And at some point, people in the media, people at home, and people sitting in the White House have to stop pretending that the Supreme Court is some kind of benign, trying to do its best institution and start to realize that there are 6 Republicans, not conservatives, Republicans on the Supreme Court who view it as their job to help the Republican Party. And until we do something about that, until we take away that power, until we draw the line on them there, they will continue to do this. They will help Trump. They will take away abortion rights. They will end affirmative action. They will liberalize gun rights. They will do all of it until we stop them. And somebody needs to start listening in the higher echelons of the Democratic Party, because we will keep losing every day we allow these 6 Republicans in robes to rule over all of us.
So that's cute. And then one more here. Here is Rachel Maddow. This one's great too. And there's a lot of these. There's a good one from Chris Hayes. There was a good one from Ari. I mean, MSNBC is having absolute meltdown today. It's fantastic.
If you think about the court as the Supreme Court of the United States and a rational actor and a decent one, that was a reasonable supposition, and it just turns out they're not that. Incremental bit of progress here. The important question here is not whether the Supreme Court is going to decide that Donald Trump and all presidents are immune from prosecution for things crimes they committed while they were president. I mean, it would be fully insane for them to actually side with Trump here, right? The conclusion that we can arrive at now based on what they have done without having to wait for the ruling is that they are ensuring that Trump will not face trial. And when they inevitably rule that presidents aren't immune from prosecution after they leave office, what that will tell Donald Trump, if by then he is president, is that he can never leave the office of the presidency. Right. And if he is voted out in 2028, he cannot leave office, and he is willing to he is welcome to commit any crimes he wants to, as long as he is still president, in order to ignore the result of that election and stay in power for life, because otherwise he is going to go to prison when he gets out.
I mean, this is the same thing they've been saying since 2016, that if he gets in the White House, he's never going to leave. He's going to be a king, a dictator. He'll stay in that role forever. And now we're circling back again, Zach. If they rule against him and then he wins the election, he just won't leave in fear of being prosecuted.
They're both so divorced from reality. I mean, like, obviously there's a reason our government and our system of government was set up in the way that it was. And we've got several hundred years now of legal precedent that has been decided by the Supreme Court. It's the Supreme Court for a reason. It is over and above all other courts. And yeah, they don't have to take something up because somebody brings it to them. But in cases of extremity, like what we have right now, they generally do, because they understand that there needs to be a final word on it. And, Rachel Maddow, I mean, think about how many American presidents have come before that have done heinous, illegal things. Barack Obama was famous for drone striking American citizens without any due process. People who hadn't been charged, people who hadn't been convicted. He just said, hey, you know what? I'm the president. Let's get it done. And this happens all the time. I mean, presidents, because of the nature of their job, they have to be given that leeway, because they're going to find themselves in legal gray areas sometimes. And President Trump didn't even do anything wrong. The only reason he's in any legal jeopardy right now is because Joe Biden retroactively pulled that immunity that he should have been shielded from. And of course, Donald Trump didn't know that. It was a setup. So now the Supreme Court is going to have to make this decision. And of course, they are going to side with him, because President Trump was the president of the United States. He declassified all of that information that he had. And even if he hadn't declassified it, he was the freaking president. Now, it's especially egregious when you compare and contrast it to what Joe Biden and Mike, what's his name? Former Vice President Mike Pence, and virtually every other president and vice president before them. They all left with classified documents in one form or another, except Joe Biden and Mike Pence were never president. They never had that executive privilege to be able to hold on to that stuff. Joe Biden, he took classified documents from a SCIF. I mean, you're not even supposed to get it out of a SCIF. Hillary Clinton wasn't president when she set up a classified bathroom email server, an unsecured bathroom email server, which housed classified and sensitive compartmentalized information on it. Okay. And they said no reasonable prosecutor would go after her. Loretta Lynch called it a matter. It wasn't even an investigation. It's only happening to Donald Trump because he's Donald Trump and these people want to stop him so bad. So there's nothing unhinged about them. I think that certainly the Q-tip guy suggesting that we need to take the power, we need to take it back from the Supreme Court of the United States. If you don't like the way that the United States of America is set up, Go start your own freaking country, pal. Go someplace else. Go set up your own special brand of authoritarianism, or your pure socialist democracy, whatever it is that you want. That's not what we have here. That's not how it works. So get off
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, it's yeah. And I think the immunity case is more about the January 6th thing. I don't think that had to do with the documents. I think it's about the insurrection, quote unquote, case. And I think Donald Trump's argument is, if I'm the president of the United States and I see massive voter fraud, I'd be derelict of duty to
Absolutely.
not try to investigate and make sure that we're not certifying a fraudulent vote. So that's what he did, and they're trying to call, him basically doing his due diligence on the fraud an attempted insurrection because of the setup Fedsurrection on January 6th that they allowed to happen for this very narrative. I don't know what the Supreme Court is going to do here, if they're going to grant him immunity or not. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out, because the way they're making it sound is, a president could then just kill all of his political opponents if he has complete immunity, which is just an absurd statement. There is a process in place called impeachment, that if a president is convicted during the impeachment process, then he would be open to criminal prosecution after he's removed from office.
That's the only way. That's the only way it's ever.
And it has to be that way, I feel like, because the president should be protected, so he can actually do his job. And if he oversteps, that's where the checks and balances come in. And those checks and balances are done by people that are supposedly elected by the people and representing the people. So I feel like that is the way it should work out. Do you think the Supreme Court will side with him on this?
I do. And also, there's no guarantee that they're even going to consider it before the election takes place. And there's a high likelihood that they might just wait until the election and then say, well, it's moot because he's president again, so he obviously is immune because he can, do whatever he needs to do. And I mentioned the classified documents case, but it will apply to everything. It doesn't matter, which jurisdiction it is. President Trump will have ultimate immunity, and he always did. So I hope that they do take it up, and I hope that they do find it in his favor. I think that if they do, then they will. I think that the reason everybody is so unhinged is because this means that they're not going to be able to have these trials now. There's no way that these trials are going to be held on the dates that they've been scheduled. And part of their plan was to hold all of these trials at virtually the exact same time. So President Trump would have to be in like 3 or 4 different places all at once. Fannie Willis, that's going away because of her and Nathan Wade's behavior. We're not going to have to worry about that. I tend to think that'll be dismissed with prejudice. But the January 6th stuff and the classified documents, this immunity challenge will take all of that up. And they're also going to say the same thing with the Colorado decision. Some woman in Illinois, a judge just found President Trump ineligible to be on the Illinois ballot. That's bullshit. Okay. It was bullshit in Colorado. The ballots were already printed. Okay. Along with that appellate court decision, they said, but we're going to stay it. Okay. And, pending review from the Supreme Court, because they knew that's where it was going to go. His name was already on the ballot. They weren't going to reprint new ballots. His name's already on the Illinois ballot. So they're just getting headlines. She's making a name for herself. She's hoping that in some future Democrat administration, maybe she's going to be the attorney general or something like that. And it's all a dog and pony show.
It's so funny, like, not funny, disgusting how you have these judges with absolutely no due process trying to disqualify Donald Trump for insurrection. He's never been charged of insurrection. He's never been convicted of insurrection. There's no due process to say he's actually guilty of this, yet they're using that as the cornerstone of their decision to attempt to remove him. Mm-hmm. Is it just for the media, like, narrative, giving the news something to talk about? So, Q-Tip or Rachel Maddow or any of these morons on CNN can get up there and say, oh, a federal judge a Colorado judge has said Donald Trump is indeed guilty of insurrection. I mean, is it just that simple? Or they want to add a sense of legitimacy to the word they've been throwing around without any actual criminal insurrection charges taking place? Like
I'm sure
what
they'd
is,
love it. I mean, there was a decision, 1867, Mississippi versus Johnson. The Supreme Court established that the president is largely beyond the reach of the judiciary by holding that it could not direct President Andrew Johnson in how he exercised his purely executive and political powers. The court stated it had no jurisdiction to enjoin the president in the performance of his official duties. What else was he doing on January 6th but his official duties? What else was he doing when he cleaned out his office after he left? Even before then, they probably had packed everything up. So I sure hope somebody knows about this, but I'm sure they do because I'm not a lawyer and I found it pretty quickly.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, the whole thing is unbelievable. All right, let me go ahead and do the second set of sponsors here, and then I've got a few other things I want to run by you. Next up is Aero Tags. Let's see, make sure I got this. There we go. All right. Tired of the endless cycle of buying and tossing these paper tree air fresheners? Enter Aero Tags, where their dream was to craft a solution to this very problem. Aero Tags are the first ever laser engraved, rescentable car air fresheners made right here in the USA. Born in the makerspace of Cleveland Public Library, Aero Tags is not just a business, it's a revolution, a testament to the American dream. They're not just about freshening your space, but about doing it better. With a commitment to longevity, aesthetics, and sustainability, Aero Tags are designed to last longer, look great, and reduce waste, replacing those fleeting scents with something you can count on. Don't forget to grab your Badlands Media Aero Tag, available now. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/aerotags. That's AROTAGS, and use promo code Badlands for 10% off your order. That's badlandsmedia.tv/aerotags. Again, that's AROTAGS. Use promo code Badlands for your discount. And then last, certainly not least, is Beamish Metalworks. Attention Badlanders, in the heart of Malmo, Minnesota, a remarkable family-led team at Beamish Metalworks is crafting not just metal art, but personalized, timeless masterpieces. Beamish Metalworks is in a class of its own, pioneering metal on wood creations. Imagine a piece of art that's not confined by generic designs, but is a narrative of your persona, your memories, or your dreams. From the elegance of an office centerpiece to the wild spirit of hunting and fishing scenes, your imagination is the only limit. Dive into the realm of endless possibilities with Beamish customizations, where your space becomes a reflection of you with a distinct vibe that only Beamish Metalworks can offer. Beamish Metalworks proudly supports local heroes and events, from veteran fundraisers to law enforcement gatherings, embedding ourselves as a pillar of support and gratitude. Visit Beamish Metalworks today at badlandsmedia.tv/metal art and use promo code Badlands for 10% off your one-of-a-kind purchase. That's badlandsmedia.tv/metal art, promo code Badlands. So there you go. And I believe I'm going to have a piece of their work soon to show you guys, which I'm pretty excited about. So keep an eye out on the stream. You can get a firsthand look at some of their products right here. And maybe I'll put it up and replace this green screen everyone loves so much. So
I've got a couple that are coming too. They made me one for my logo, and then I also got a Badlands one coming.
Oh, cool. Yeah, very, very cool. I think mine is a Badlands one that's coming. I don't know if they're going to send me my own logo or if I had to request that.
Yeah, I had to. I mentioned casually on the air how much I would like one, and then the owner reached out and said, "Send me your logo."
Oh, sweet. Well,
yeah,
that's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Zach, I saw this yesterday. I talked about it on my show a bit yesterday. But I'm curious what you think about this because I was a bit surprised. I stumbled upon this article on the Gateway Pundit, and it says Donald Trump's approval rating is higher with Gen Z than any other group. Gen Z is ages 18 to 24. A recent Harvard Harris survey found 57% of voters approved of the job Trump did as president and 41% disapproved. When breaking that approval rating down by age group, a massive 64% majority of Gen Z voters approved of the job Trump did as president. Now, I was kind of blown away by this because typically 18 to 24-year-olds lean left. They're in college. They are being indoctrinated by college faculty. They're on TikTok and Instagram and a lot of places where conservative voices are either completely censored, banned, shadow banned. You name the crummy tactics. We've all been through it time and time again. So how in the world is Donald Trump doing so well among this age group, in your opinion? Are you as surprised by this as I am, or is this what you would expect?
No, you know, what's interesting is that I've had some conversations with people who have kids in that age range.
Mhm.
And what I've just from looking online and then also talking to them, those kids have grown up largely with the specter of DEI and the kind of like open propagandization that has been pushed upon them by educators. And I think as a result of it, they have rejected it. Now, they've also been able to watch over the last couple of years as the country has kind of turned in upon itself as a result of this effort to destroy Donald Trump. My daughter, who was not a fan of Donald Trump before, now is totally voting for Trump in November because, she saw what life was like under Joe Biden. In those 4 years, she knew what I did. She would try to argue with me about what kind of a person Trump was. And I was like, just wait. I'm like, sometimes you got to see it for yourself. And so Joe Biden steps into office, and she knew on election night, she was like, this doesn't feel right. And so then, watching what happened to me and watching what happened to all my friends, and then watching as the country started to implode, she was like, you were right. You were right about everything. And there's no way that I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. And, Donald Trump is the way to go. So I think that it has pushed these kids, from that radical left indoctrination in a pretty wicked fashion all over to the right. And they know that Donald Trump is the way to go, and that Joe Biden, he never got 81 million votes, and he has no business being anywhere near the office of the presidency. I think that first kind of segment of younger people who were growing up in early days on TikTok and maybe started taking hormones at a young age, even among them, they started to reject that as well because they saw again for themselves, how damaging that was. So, who are the people who are actually supporting the radical left? I mean, it's illegals, it's communists, it's terrorists. The people who are most likely to try to destroy America rather than celebrating the beauty of what we have here in the United States. Those people aren't even truly Americans, as far as I'm concerned, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, that all makes a lot of sense. We were talking about it yesterday. I had 45-1 Actual and his crew on the show with me yesterday. And what we were talking about was how, conservative politics, conservatism, being on the right is kind of the new counterculture, the new punk rock in a way.
Yep.
And I think I found it funny, and I apologize to the 412 fan who heard me say this yesterday, but I found it always funny when you looked at this idea of resist, right? When Donald Trump was first elected, like that was like the big thing, right? Resist, resist, resist. We're going to resist them like the evil empire. But it was like Amazon and every financial institution and major media conglomerate, like everyone like that was acting like they were some kind of like ragtag resistance group was the entire establishment and all their allies. And they convinced like a bunch of these young people at the time that they needed to resist Donald Trump. Do you think part of it is that they finally looked around and realized, like, wait a minute, it's all every authoritative figure out there is actually on the side of the left, and that just being that age, you want to rebel against authority naturally, and they're like, oh, I'm not supposed to like Donald Trump. Well, then I'm going to. You know what I mean?
I think that could certainly have something to do with it. Yeah, definitely. I should also mention that Lisa's son, who's 19, he was never like a fan of Joe Biden or Obama. Like he was always pretty based from a young age, and obviously I credit Lisa with that entirely. But he was never super political. But now that he's in college and he's seen firsthand, he goes to like a college that is it's a Catholic college, okay? And so like, there's supposed to be like a basis in faith there. But even there is this, kind of radical leftist undertone to what's being taught. Not everybody, but enough of it is present so that he really started taking note. And then he thought about everything that his mom told him growing up, everything that I told him when we met. And he now is 100% on board with Trump. He was going to vote for Trump anyways, but he just kind of did it because it's what we said he should do. But now he's made up his mind. It's funny. He do you know who D. Schlopes is? He's a guy.
No.
He's a guy on Twitter, and something about like Fire Fauci, I think was his name. But he went after Fauci pretty hard on a whole bunch of stuff. Anyways, Lisa's son sent me one of his tweets the other day, like unsolicited. Didn't know I know who he was or anything like that. But he was like, look at this, and I'm like, yes, that's my boy. Like he's paying attention, and that's all I could ask for. But yes, I think that that countercultural bent that younger people tend to have, that could certainly have something to do with it, because the entirety of the establishment is based around this radical left indoctrination, and people reject that. It's like the children of the hippies. They were Reagan Republicans. I mean, they were like the Wall Street kids. Went from like peace, love to like greed and power, and then that kind of like morphed into something else. It's like every generation everything kind of flips, and you do rebel against what your parents did. But now to rebel against people like us, it's signing your own death warrant.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, one last thing I want to hit on, and then I'll let you go because I know you got your show coming up at 5 o'clock. Biden went in for a physical the other day, unannounced. We went in there and did not take a cognitive test. Now, of course, the self-proclaimed historical figure, Karine Jean-Pierre, was asked about this at her presser, and it's a 30-second clip. I'll play it and then get your thoughts, and we'll get you out of here.
Okay. I think folks need to understand that the president passes, again, a cognitive test every day. If you look at what a clinical cognitive test is actually, what it actually does, it is a 15-minute appointment that is administered by someone that most of the time people don't actually know, and the president has a team of doctors that is with him 24/7. And he is able to do the work every day that is rigorous, that is more rigorous than it would be for any 15-minute clinical appointment. I think folks need.
There it is. It is that, well, being president in itself is proof that the president is, has the cognitive ability to be the president. I mean, he's there. So.
That's not the way it works. She knows it. I mean, she's like the queen of obfuscation. She's just got to try to deflect, say enough words to get a quote, even if it's not really relevant, and then she can move on to the next thing. Okay, and you in the back.
Do you think she like enjoys this role, or do you think she wakes up every day like, son of a bitch, I have to cover for this old senile idiot again? Like, how do you think she approaches this every day? Because she seems completely overwhelmed by the position. Every time I see her, she just seems to be struggling to hold the narrative together. Like, I don't know, like at gunpoint almost.
I think she probably went into it thinking it would be an excellent stepping stone, but the longer she's there, she recognizes that it's probably not doing her career any favors. And if she doesn't get out of that job, then she's probably going to, leave the administration in that job. And no, I don't think that she's happy about it. I mean, she knows that when she's going to go into work every morning, she's going to have to answer some uncomfortable questions. And it's really, it's not going to be fun for very long. If it is fun at all for her at this point. I don't think it is, though.
Yeah, I think she probably absolutely hates life right now. Although I'm sure there's a nice paycheck waiting for her at MSNBC, where she could get up there.
Yeah, that's probably the only place she's going to go.
Yeah. I could see her. I could see her at MSNBC for sure. All right, Zach. I know you got to get going here. You got your show coming up in 5 minutes. What are we talking about today on Red Pill 78?
Oh gosh, we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but you can bet we're definitely going to be discussing the latest breaking news in all of President Trump's cases. Certainly some new details in the Fani Willis ethics investigation, new information from the ethics investigations, and then also some stuff about the election. So, and perhaps a new backstabber that's been revealed in the midst of Donald Trump.
Ooh, interesting. All right, very cool. So go ahead, man. Get on out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and we'll do it again next week.
Glad to be here. We'll see you in a bit. I'm live at 5. Peace.
All right, there he goes. Zach Payne of Red Pill 78, redpill78news.com. He is going live in just under 5 minutes on his channel, Red Pill 78. I highly recommend you guys go check him out. He is one of the absolute best at this whole independent media game, a great friend and someone I always feel so honored to hang out with each week. So again, go check out Zach Payne at redpill78news.com. Also, big shout out to Frankie Val of the Quite Frankly Show. He couldn't be here today. I know he's got a lot going on right now. He said he'll be good for next week. But you can check out all things Quite Frankly at quitefrankly.tv. His show is 7 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. Another absolutely amazing show, independent show. It's always great to tune in and watch those guys. My name is Adel Nero, and my channel is 412 Productions. You can find it on DLive, Rumble. Of course, pill.net is the best place and the exclusive place to watch the second hour of our show. We go live from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. First hour is available across all platforms. The second hour is exclusively on pill.net, which is the home of free speech. We just updated the user interface there. It is sleek. It is awesome. If you haven't gone over to Pilled yet and checked it out since last week, go give it a look. It is on a whole new level than it was before. I highly recommend it. So go take a look and get on over there. Otherwise, that's pretty much going to do it. Going to read our gold pill donations and then sign off for the day. So, oh yeah, tomorrow 4 p.m. Eastern time, I will be live. I'm going to try to get Ben and Tina Garrison of Gur Graphics on for a visit, and then Saturday morning 10 a.m. I'll be doing the Saturday morning chat. We take phone calls and play music on Saturday morning. It's a fun little start to the weekend, casual little chat. So let's see what we got going on with your gold pills today. And again, huge thank you to everyone donating to the show. Due diligence, breaking the ice with a tucking it back cookie. Thank you so much. Ohio Kimmy, Dem Turn Red. Boys Blanc, thank you so much. Boys Blanc says, hello, my friends. Hello, Boys Blanc. Great to see you. Filter Dog 1 says, go my Johnson. Thank you for the shades. Filter Dog, I appreciate it, man. Philly 369 Garden, cheers to you. Thank you for the can. Delia says, Turning Point is paying lots of money, and they and other Republicans will be out this year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a whole different ball game with the Republican Party now that we've kind of reset the leadership. We will see. Hopefully they do the right thing. Tomcat New Jersey says, it looks like Q-Tip's hair is on fire. I love watching a Mad Cow meltdown. Awesome show, Zach and 412. Thank you, Tomcat. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was a fun time today. Braves Piano, Due Diligence. Thank you guys for the cookies. Loop the Loop. Appreciate the can. Remy, Ace of Spades is another fantastic stream. Adel and Zach, glad you enjoyed it. Floyd says, shit, that hour felt like 15 minutes. It always flies on Thursdays, doesn't it? Holy smokes, does it fly? And then Floyd says, cheers to another great show. Thank you guys so much for the support. Let me see how we did. 2,100. Should I release it? Should I release it, or should we save it for tomorrow? 123 SKG. Thank you for the cookie. What should I do, guys? Should I release it or save it for tomorrow? 2,100. It'll be small payouts today, or I could save it, add it to whatever we do tomorrow, and maybe it'll be bigger payouts. Probably will definitely be bigger payouts. Huh? Release it? Let it go? Release it? Hold it? What do I do? Come on. Gotta love this delay. Man, these freaking bots on Rumble are so obnoxious. I swear to God. Rumble needs to get their shit together. Save it, release the scratching. 3 save it's, 1 release it. All right, we're gonna save it. We're gonna save it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Adel Nero. My channel is 412 Productions. I would love to earn your follow. Those of you on Badlands Media, I'd love to see you guys over for one of our broadcasts on 412 Productions. So please come give us a follow. Otherwise, that's going to do it for Zach Payne of RedPill78News.com. Shout out to Frankie Val, who couldn't be here today, of QuiteFrankly.tv. My name is Adel Nero of 412 Productions. This has been Taking It Back. You guys have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you guys all on the next one. Good night, everybody.